Hi, my name is Beth Hadley here for Board Game Geek at Origins 2018. I'm sitting down with Christian Waters from Osprey Games, and you've brought us Wildlands.
I brought you Wildlands. This is an October game that's coming out. This is our first big box miniatures game, and it's Martin Wallace's first miniatures board game. Now, you're probably thinking, Martin Wallace miniatures? And yep, the answer is Martin Wallace miniatures.
I was going to say, is there a debt token miniature?
And the theme of the game is that the ancient kingdom of Wildlands has fallen, and these four factions are coming into the dungeon to fight over treasure and defend themselves. And each one have their strengths. So for instance, this is the League of Mages. They were ancient before the kingdom even fell, and they've been studying their books so much that they can't see any kind of distance at all. So they're very good on close-in fighting, but they can't use projectile weapons.
Okay.
The Nomads, and that's G-N-O-M-A-D. They just like to stick together. They're they're the most balanced of the factions. The Pit Fighters, you just don't want to
way up on the front there.
Yeah, you just don't want to get close to them because they'll just cut you. They'll just cut you to ribbons. You don't want to get close to them. And I'm sorry, I got it backwards. This is the Nomads here.
There we go.
There you go. And that's the Pit Fighters. And these.
Hey, you're doing it upside down.
These. Yeah, I don't know if this has been doing it all weekend. These are the Lawbringers. They were convicts, and as the kingdom fell, the jailers had to decide to execute them, let them go, or they could conscript them. So they're kind of the bandits that have turned good, and they are. Each one of them has their own individual strengths as you play them as characters. So the mechanism is this is all card driven, as you would expect from our Martin Wallace game. Oh, and I'm sorry, I should tell you that the art that you're seeing is production art. This is what it'll really look like. The board is two-sided. There's the dungeon here. If you flip it over, you're on the surface. There's some areas that are denoted as being elevated, which can add an interesting flavor to the game.
Yeah.
And the figs themselves are production figs. We put some washi tape on the bottom here at Origins just to demo purposes. They will come with a clip-on plastic colored base to help you identify. They will even come ink washed. The details are just gorgeous. I love these things. I can't wait to start painting them myself.
So if you guys, we were saying what did we really want to highlight in this interview, and there we go. That's one of the major selling points of this.
And there'll be a box of, there's 20 in the box, 5 for each faction.
All right, so take us through what a turn might look like.
So the first when you activate, every player will get dealt a set of 10 number cards that key to different areas on the board. You will then secretly assign one card to each player, so that when you activate it and you bring it on, like here, I'm going to bring on Edith, and she would go to 31. Boom. Okay, so that's how you would activate. The other 5 cards that you get, you would pass to the right. You would take them from your other opponent, and that's how you would place these treasure tokens. So that's how you randomly distribute the treasure, and it also gives you some strategy on how you want to position your characters. So it's classic Martin Wallace. There's strategy in the game before the game even starts. And then you actually manipulate your characters and do all the battle and any of the action using these cards like this. The cards are keyed to each character. Thank you. Just take those. So you see there's a little logo symbol on each one that keys to the character. Let's see. So for instance here we have one with the owl head. There you go. And that's Hugo. That's Hugo the owl. Like that.
Right. So there's Hugo's symbol just
matching the one on the actions cards. Okay. So let's say Hugo is here. Right. And then real quick, if I could play a card out of my 7-card hand. It could just move Hugo. This could let Hugo fly, and then this could, it's a melee attack with the sword. And we have a little cheat card there that shows the different things. There are heavy and light melee, there are heavy and light projectile attacks, and there are also area attacks which would affect the next area over. And then you can defend against melee, you can seek cover, or you can use a shield too. And it's all card driven. But now the thing is though, there is a wild card in your hands. And if I play a card, make an action, one of my opponents can play the interrupt, which lets them stop what I'm doing and intercede. So I could be attacking somebody here, somebody could play an interrupt card and come at me from the back, My opponent defends, they could play an interrupt card and start coming at me backwards, at back.
Yeah.
So that's the way the action it flows. When you play 2 players, maneuver becomes important because you're trying to cover a lot of space. In a 4-way,
a lot of combat.
Yeah, a lot of blood. It's great. I love it. I love the 4-way game, man. It's just like you're fighting the whole time. And the first person to 5 points wins. You get a point for each treasure you pick up, or for every opponent you kill. And the way you pick up treasure is you have to be in the same space, obviously, and then you play 3 of the character cards for that character, and then you pick it up. And it doesn't take much to see that every time you play a card, you're doing something that's advantageous to you, but you're giving up the possibility of doing some other action too. Again, pure Martin Wallace.
Right.
Yeah.
Too many good choices in any given turn.
That's exactly right. So this is the core game that'll come out in October. You'll get the double-sided board, the 20 figs, all the cards, the treasure tokens. In the finished game, these will be crystal shards. It's just demo. Then in November, we're going to release the first expansion, The Unquiet Dead, Walking Dead, which will be 5 more figs and the card to go with them. We'll do a second expansion in February, and we're thinking maybe summer we might do a second board. So we're in this.
Yeah, you're in this for the long haul.
Yeah. And then a game plays about an hour.
Right, and that's a lot of game for only an hour.
Yeah, it's great. I really love this game.
Well, if you guys want to try something new for Osprey, new for Martin Wallace, this is Wildlands, which is being published by Osprey Games. And Christian, thank you again.
Thanks for having me.